الله أكبر الله أكبر.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
عليكم السلام.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم آمين. I'd like to welcome everybody to today's very special Qurtuba program. We're very actually blessed and honored to have with us Dr. Yaqub Mirza. Now, for today's program, I feel very fortunate and very blessed to be a close friend of Dr. Yaqub's son, Dr. Yunus Mirza, and also one of his students. Many, many years ago, we, through the Fairfax Institute, myself and a number of other brothers and sisters in the area took a class called The Essentials of Faith-Based Wealth Building. And I'll be honest, when I saw the book come out, I thought, oh, this will be much of the same. It was completely not. In fact, what we found in this book, which is being sold outside, is actually complementary to many of the concepts that we learned in that faith-based wealth building class. And we're very fortunate today to have with us a master in the art of faith-based wealth building who spent much of his adult life really entrenched in this area. And he'll be, inshallah, sharing some of his wisdom with us in that regard. Many people don't know his actual background is not in finance or investment. He is a nuclear physicist, mashallah, by training and by education. And I believe you taught too.
Yeah.
For some time as well. So he is a nuclear physicist turned investment guru, mashallah. So you have really a nice kind of background, in that regard with Dr. Yaqub. At any rate, we're very fortunate to host you here today. There are copies of the book, as I mentioned, being sold outside. And without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Yaqub.
Thank you so much, Shad, saying that I messed up from physics to finance. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First, let me thank all of you coming over here to spend your afternoon and evening with us. And alhamdulillah, I'm honored to have Majid and Iqbal Yunus is there and others. First, let me talk about why 5 pillars. When I started to write this book, I had only 4 pillars. And it was basically saving, investing, spending, and then giving. So I kept thinking if I can find another pillar, it will rhyme better, 5 pillars, because there are lots of 5 pillars. Even they have 5 pillars for hip hop. So we were at Umrah about 4 years ago, and I was walking back from the Haram to the hotel, and it just stuck on me that 5th pillar has to be earnings. And if we don't earn, we cannot save. If we don't save, we cannot invest. And if we cannot invest and grow the money, then basically we can't spend and we cannot give. So I came back and I started writing on earning, and alhamdulillah, I found lots of references from Quran, Hadith, including the Bible, which encourages us that we need to be business people, trade, and entrepreneurship. So that's about the 5 pillars. What actually started me to think about the book is the program which Shad mentioned, which was initiated by Dr. Iqbal Yunus, the Fairfax Institute. I was teaching their faith-based wealth building. And one of the person which is named in the book, Salma Mujdiri, she came to me and she wrote me an email, as a matter of fact, saying that she has grown in an Islamic family, Muslim family. Her father, Rahmatullah alayhi, Ahmad al-Qadi, was a good friend. And her grandfather was a Muslim economist, Dr. Mahmoud Abu Saud, may Allah be pleased with him, who was just like Baba to me. But I never understood applying those concepts to wealth building. And I should write a book. So I sort of, start thinking about it. I said, okay, maybe there is something that I need to do. So I wrote one or two versions, and I was still not sure whether it is worth publishing or not. So three people who really encouraged me and made a point, which I felt like this is something I should publish. First one was Governor John Sununu, who was Chief of Staff of President Bush Sr. He read it and he gave me his marked copy, which I still have, where he said, tell this to the Congress, tell this to the President, tell this to the administration, and so on and so forth. So he was very excited and gave me a lot of, he has seen the world. I mean, he was a three-term governor of New Hampshire and is a very, very smart man. And I learned a lot from him. The next person is Gary Moore. He has a financial seminary, and he writes on ethics in business. And he gives seminars and lots of talks to Christians and others, where he is basically saying that we cannot leave our beliefs when we go to business. They should come with us. And he gives examples of Kinley, who was the president or CEO of Enron, which collapsed, and he describes why it collapsed. So he read it, and he wrote back to me. He said, this is wonderful, and I cannot wait to recommend to my friends when it's published. So I felt that he is a pastor. He has a financial seminary. He knows this business. He was on Wall Street, and he's certainly financially informed. The third person, I respect him also, John Esposito of Georgetown University. He looked at it and he was very, very encouraging. So I decided to then go ahead and write it further, improve it, and then went to one of the publishers. To my surprise, the first publisher we submitted the book accepted to publish it. So that was also very encouraging, that I don't have to go around and shop to find other publishers. So alhamdulillah, this is the way the book came about. Now, the basis of this book goes back to many, many years ago when I was 12 years old. I used to work with my father in the business. He was a great entrepreneur, may Allah be pleased with him. And he bought a book of hadith and translated into Urdu. And when we don't have any customer, he and I, we used to read them together. And two things which he always emphasized based on our study and reading, and that was, you never hurt somebody's feelings, and you never borrow money from someone and don't pay it back. And then he will explain to me that everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy can be forgiven. But these two things, if you have not apologized or returned the money, will not be forgiven, and on day of judgment, Qiyamah, that person has to forgive you. And if that person doesn't forgive, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take our good deeds and give it to that person. So this concept, these two things really stuck onto me, and I always try not to hurt somebody's feelings. If I had, I apologize. And second, just made a policy and a point that I don't want to borrow money from anybody, even from a bank or whatever. So then, of course, you have to decide and discover new ways. How do you manage your life? How do you buy a car? How do you buy a house? How do you send your kids to school? And we have 4 of them. And all these questions come to your mind. And what is here is basically last 40 years of struggle or finding ways and means how not to borrow and how to save money and how to invest it so you have more money that you can do what you want to do. And the key theme in this book is to delay gratification, delay having fun, delay as much as you can the consumption. Whatever is in your pocket, it's not burning that you go out and then spend it. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of sacrifice, lot of controlling your guts. I remember to me used to tell me, Yunus will come home and say, well, I don't have Nike shoes, and why I don't have them, why I have shoes from Kmart. And she will make up a story and tell him, it's not the shoes, it's the person who can jump high and play basketball and he wins, and so on and so forth. Kids will come and say, well, why don't you have a big house? Why our house is the smallest in Suffolk Court? Have you ever noticed, Majid? That's a long story, but just making it shorter, we will come up with very nice thing to say. The reason we have a small house, so mommy spends less time cleaning it, so she has more time to spend with the children, which is true, but so. I remember vividly one day, Yunus coming to me, he was going to Langley. He was driving one old Corolla car, which he got from Amri, his aunt. And when he's on the highway, one door will open, just like your car, Maj, which you told me about. And he goes to Langley and he finds people are driving Mercedes. So he's all confused, Then he one day comes to me and says, I don't want you to buy a Mercedes, but can we buy a Mercedes? So we had to go through all those questions, from the children. And of course, me going around turning off the lights and so on and so forth. So what I did, I have all the 4 kids without any threat, unedited. I told them, write what is your experience growing up in our household. So alhamdulillah, all the 4 of them, I couldn't convince my daughter-in-law and son-in-law to do it. But all the 4 of them, they wrote their experiences being living with us and growing with us. And Yunus talks about turning off lights. And he writes a whole 1 page. His wife comes home and he's sitting in the dark, and why is dark? And he says, well, go and ask my daddy. So it was not really as serious. We had to struggle, think about it, and find ways and means how can we save money so we can do better things. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really blessed our wishes, blessed our niyyah, blessed our desires, and alhamdulillah bil alameen, we can make it. So starting with the book itself, basically on the first few pages you have different people who have written about the book, including Imam Majid, mashallah. And in the foreword is written by Dr. Najatullah Siddiqui. He is one of the renowned Islamic scholar, financial scholar. He received a Faisal Award for his writing and contribution to Islamic finance. And alhamdulillah, I was very fortunate to have him write the foreword. I remember meeting with him in Jeddah. He used to teach in King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. He always used to tell me, Yaqub, write your experiences. Don't just let these experiences, go. You should write. So when I called on him to tell him, well, I'll listen to you. Are you ready to write the foreword? He said, yes, I would do that. And I went to California. One of his sons lives there, although he lives in India. Visited with him, gave me the copy, and sure enough, alhamdulillah, he wrote a very nice foreword to it. So the book is basically starting with earning and lawful earnings, and I make a point that, and I'll cover that, how Islamically we are required, not only encouraged, but we are required to provide for the family and work hard and earn. And then I go back to the savings, investments, and then you have enough that you modestly spend. And then giving. Giving has taken a big part of this book, and that's what I sort of want to encourage everybody to give while we're living. And I will talk more about that also. So from the introduction, I tried to basically touch upon that we should refrain from borrowing. I give lots of hadiths of Prophet ﷺ where he's telling us that the burden of debt, he always used to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for protection, the burden of debt and from the anger of men. And it's also reported that he will not pray the janazah of a person who is under debt. until the debt has been paid off, either by the society or by the family or by the community or by himself. So I sort of talk about that. Then I basically say that we should avoid interest, which is basically money being made on money, without any trade, without any exchange of value, without any profit sharing. So we need to avoid interests, simple or compounded. Then I talk about giving support to our community, just touching on it. And there, but before that, let me also talk about, it's very crucial for us as community members, as a family, to have discussion with our children about your thinking, about your philosophy of life, and what you intend to do. But 2 years ago, during December holidays, we sat, the whole family, 4 children and 2 are married. So 8 of us, we sat together and we talked about who is going to do what upon if one of us dies, either myself or Tanveer. And of course, we have already purchased our graves. So it was a nice gift. I go home and tell Tanveer, I bought you a grave. Didn't go too well, but that's what it is. So we assigned actually every child, this is your responsibility. Where is the will? What they need to do, whom they have to contact, and what are our wishes that they should fulfill. So part of that meeting, we also discussed what is the mission of our family? Why do we exist? What is the purpose of us being part of a family? So, mashallah, everybody had their computers on and we crafted what is called a family mission statement. And it's quoted here. Basically, it's more of a code of life for Mirza family to live on. So I would certainly encourage that each one of you have certain desires, certain wishes, certain feelings. You want certain things to be done certain ways, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the right to do, to have that discussion so nobody is surprised at the time, when the time comes. At the same time, what I try to do is to look at the Bible. As Muslims, we do believe in Injil and Torah, though not the modified one, but the original one. And there are a lot of commonality. So I try to use that commonality to build my case and basically say that the financial language between Jews, Christians, and ourselves, who are the children of Ibrahim, is common. And I give examples of that. So how to use this book? I'm basically suggesting that people should, 8, 9, 10 people should get together, read one chapter at a time, discuss it, come up with some questions, make some notes, and I'll be happy to answer those questions. And I was, alhamdulillah, very pleased that Imam Jahari came visited with me, and he said, I have an ask. I said, okay, please, what is the ask? He said he has assigned to his halaqah this book. They're already reading it, and one of them, Kyle, is here. He just told me that he's in that group. And they have a lot of questions, and he wants me to come and answer their questions. And I told him, I'm honored, I'm happy that you are collectively studying this, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. To make my point, I also have a section on how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ implemented the concept of pluralism. How in Medina he was able to have the first constitution of Islamic state, so to speak, with Jews being party to it and being involved in it and being able to, to have a community, a society. So going to the earnings, that's the first chapter. All of us, we know that we need to earn, and we have to work hard, and we have to provide for the family. If I can find it, I was really touched in Timothy. It goes this far in saying that if one does not provide for the family, he is among the infidels. And that really was stuck to me, because whatever I read and I study, and my knowledge is limited, not as much as of Imam Majid, we are not told that if you don't work, you are out. You are just not part of us. But the Bible does go that far in saying that. So Prophet ﷺ clearly emphasized the importance of working and earning livelihood in following words: to strive to earn a livelihood through the right means is an obligation after the obligation of prayer. So it is really as important as prayer, which is one of the pillars, which is a fard. So you will read there's a lot of emphasis on work, on earning money. Now, when we earn money, there are three ways we can earn money. One, we go out and work for someone else, and we get a salary, a compensation for the work we do, which almost 95% to 96% of us, we do that. Nothing wrong with it, but that's one way. The second is that you are an entrepreneur, and I will discuss that very briefly. And you have an idea, you start a business, you employ other people to come and work for your business. And then collectively that business makes money, and you pay out rightful pays and salaries to all the workers, and the rest comes as profit to you, which is the money you are making. There are probably 3% of people who use that mechanism to make money. The last one is you invest money, and you make money through investments. And that is actually very, very small percent, I would say maybe less than 1% of people who would actually earn enough, then invest it and live off the investment. And that is the goal of this whole effort, that we get to it first, we work hard, we establish businesses, become entrepreneurs, because that's very Islamic, and then make enough money that we can invest, live off the profit, and help this community and the society. So entrepreneurship is basically a person who's willing to take risk and willing to work day and night, work very hard, and be able to succeed in an idea how to improve the life of this community. Whether it is making windows which will use less energy, coming up with new batteries which will last longer in our cell phones, whatever that idea may be. Now, when I teach entrepreneurship class, people often they look at me and they say that we have big giants here, big companies, how can I compete with them? And my answer usually to them is that we each can and do make a difference. So we should never belittle ourselves. Whatever little contribution we can make. And the other saying is that even a small star shines in the darkness. So let's say that we are a small star, then we will shine with our ability, with our effort, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to do whatever we can. And if we look around, whatever we see today, somebody had imagined it. Yeah? Somebody thought of it. That's why what we have today. So there is no shame or no harm in us imagining big, thinking big, and inshallah, even if we succeed in part of it, that would be a lot. Then I give you historically how we find in the Bible certain apostles were tradesmen, were business people, and then Prophet ﷺ, as we know, was a tradesman. And then Abdurrahman bin Auf, he was one of the believer, earlier companion of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was a great entrepreneur. He goes from ﷺ, and instead of working, or asking someone to help, he just told them, show me where the market is, where the souk is. And from there he made quite a bit of money. Uthman bin Affan, the third caliph, he was learned, he knows how to read, how to write. He became a successful merchant. His generosity had no limits. Imam Abu Hanifa, he founder of the Hanafi school of law, born in a family of tradesmen, and he used to distribute, he earned his own living through trade. He used to distribute one golden coin every Friday. He used to help his students to give scholarships so they will come and study with him. This one, and you go on and on. Peter, Paul, Job, they're all listed here. They were the people who were all in businesses and were entrepreneurs. Now, we as Muslims, when we want to go into businesses, entrepreneurship, we have certain ethics, business ethics, we have certain laws to follow. And I'm giving lots of verses from Quran which says that we should not engage in bribery or dishonesty. We should deal justly in business and trade. We should document and have witnesses. This is Surah Al-Baqarah. We should not engage in fraud or deception or mismeasurement. We should give due rights to everyone, whatever their share is, if we are in a partnership. Do not engage in hoarding and exploitation. And lastly, be kind. There's no reason to get upset and so on and so forth. So in business, I've served on several public companies. The temptation is there. If you just massage a little bit of the financial numbers, the stock price will go up, and if you own 20,000 shares, you will have $20,000 more. But we always want to stick to our creed, not to greed. So temptations will be there, but then we have to come back and say, what is the right thing to do? And we will follow the creed. In business, I have seen the success is just like in a family, just like in a community, that we create a family-like atmosphere. In my office, we have lunches together. You're all invited at 12:30. Let us know so we have enough food. In the business, you keep people informed. Employees are your partners in certain ways. The people who work for you, all the vendors who supply things to you, all your customers, they have stake in your business. If you don't supply them, they go out of business. If somebody doesn't deliver you goods that you need to produce something, you go out of business. So really, this is a win-win situation to create a family-like business. And if there is a problem, there's a hardship, which often there are, you basically inform people and share it with them. And I've seen that they will come out and work with you to resolve. Giving you an example, we have not seen this kind of cold weather in the South. Alabama, Mississippi, in Gainesville. There were days that our trucks were stuck. We did not have enough feed to feed the chicken. And I tried to tell them it's Ramadan, but they didn't believe me. So we had to borrow some of the feed from the neighbors, and they were all there to help, so we don't have chicken dying while they are growing to be slaughtered. So you really have to give lots of examples, but time may not permit that. And we always want to work for the food. We don't want to work for the food which spoils. We want to work for the food which endures eternal life. And this is from Bible, John 6:27. And it's very Islamic. Now, the key hadith which says it all, what is entrepreneurship all about, is Prophet ﷺ has said, God has decreed that for everything there is a better way. So if we just follow this, we are born entrepreneurs. Every day we look around and we say, how can I improve my life? How can I do something different? How can I do something which is better, faster, cheaper, and is easier to use? So just this particular hadith, of course other hadiths, that for a Muslim, today should be better than yesterday, and tomorrow should be better than today. That calls for action. It immediately tells you that we need to continuously improve. And that's really, in business languages, is what is entrepreneurship. So then I give you questions here, which often people come to me, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I ask them usually 9-10 questions, which helps you to analyze, are you the material who is going to be a successful entrepreneur? And sometimes people say, well, I always wanted to be somebody. After going through these questions, they say, well, I should have been more specific. Because being somebody is not being specific. You want to be like Imam Majid, or you want to be like some other person. So then I just quickly give you 8 qualities of being successful business person. And it's always very useful and good to check what we are doing is right. You always have to have a feedback, because what's the use of running if I'm running on a wrong road? I want to go to Sterling, but I'm running towards Reston. So even if I run faster, it's not going to get me to Sterling, because my direction is wrong, my approach is wrong, and I'm just wasting time. Then we get into income management, and in business, often I tell people that you want to excel because there's a lot of competition. If you are not better than the other, you will go out of business. So what does it take to be the best? It's everything. You have to put in all your energies and efforts to be the best. And everything is up to you or up to us. Nobody's going to do it for me. So if you want to be the best, then we have to really work hard. Next, we come to the savings. Story in Quran and also in Bible, we read about Surah Yusuf as-salam. And if you analyze it, I'll not go into the detail of it, I'll just talk about on the savings. Basically, the story tells us that you save when you have ample quantity, store it, and use it at the time of need. It's the same story in Bible as well as in Quran. And that is really the essence of saving for the future. And it just tells us from Quran, directly from that story, that Yusuf as-salam saved corn for 7 years. They stored it, they used it. He calculated how many people are in the surroundings who are going to eat. He knew how many new births. There's a way to calculate how many new people are going to be born, how many deaths are going to be in 7 years, how many visitors they are going to get, and then save at the end enough that you have the seeds to sow when the rain comes. And it's a beautiful, we can discuss it maybe some other time, but the point I want to emphasize here is saving, putting it aside, and using when there is a need is the lesson. Now, we often hear Franklin Benjamin, he says penny saved is penny earned. Anybody disagrees with it? I do. Why? Think about it. When you save a penny, where do you get a penny? You go work somewhere, and they give you income, they give you salary, and then you end up having a penny. But think about it. When you end up with a penny, that money which you have earned has paid federal tax, had paid Virginia state tax, and then when you go to Kmart and spend that penny, you pay sales tax. So put them all together, roughly speaking, that is almost 50 cents. So you have to earn penny and a half, and you take 1/3 of that, or 2/3 of that, because 1/3 is gone in taxes, you will end up with a penny. So the lesson I draw here is that when you spend a penny, think about you are spending penny and a half. And when you save a penny, consider that you actually saved penny and a half. So if you look at money in that fashion, you will become a lot more cautious of how to spend it. And then I talk about living debt-free. There's a picture of a person who's so happy cutting the credit card, so I don't have to deal with it anymore. And then we go on to share with you how you reorganize your debt so that you can make all your payments without incurring the penalties. Then we get into preparing a plan in order to save. And I've given a work, it's a table, where you see lots of time we spend money and we don't really know where money went. And at the end of the month, we sit down with the checkbook and say, what happened to my money? It's just gone. So this table forces you to write down where the money is spent. And then it's asked you the question, is it really necessary that I go to Starbucks? I never go to Starbucks. First, it pains me to pay $1.50 for a coffee. Stand in line. My leg hurts when I stand too long in a line. I have to park my car, walk out, go inside, and then just wait to get coffee. I mean, what's the big deal about it? You can buy a Starbucks coffee bag and make it at home or in the office, all right? And it costs you only 20 cents versus $1.50. I don't know the recent prices of it. I never go and have lunch in any place. Think about it. You go to, what's the place, the sandwich place, which Subway. They claim they have everything fresh. So, okay, fine. You look at a piece of bread, they put a cheese, they put a lettuce, they put tomato, and whatever else you want. Think about it. You are paying $5, $6 for it. It doesn't cost them more than 50 cents to do it. So if you do it every day, that's $5 extra spent every day. And if you do it on the weekend, that is $150 savings, just like that. Now, you know what I do? I buy Greek yogurt. I have a little fridge in my office. I keep it there. I buy it once a month. And I just take my Greek yogurt at lunch. It costs me less than $1, and that's it. And if I'm hungry, I take nuts, which we buy them from Costco, and not from airports. All right? So there are lots of suggestions here. Lots of people go to get videos. The name of the store, I'm forgetting it. Videos. I mean, on your television, you got 100 channels. What else do you need? Why would you go and Blockbuster and rent video? They rent you for one day. If it's over one day, you pay penalty and you pay something else with it. That's where they make most of the money, you see. So just imagine the time you spend to go to Blockbuster, rent something, come home, and then waste time watching it. Of course, that's what today I will say it. So just to give you statistics, in Starbucks 2011, the revenues were 11.7 billion. 11.7 billion. They are certainly losing on me. I don't go to Starbucks. All right. Then on page 34, I go on to list different things which tells you how cheap I am. When I use a piece of napkin, and Ambreen will testify to that, if you come to my office, you will almost always you will find half napkin on the desk, because I use only half of it. And then I need to use it again, I use the other half. I'm big in turning off lights, buying, when I travel, I don't spend any money. I will take dates and nuts, which again we buy from Costco, they're cheaper, or from Medina. And I carry them with me. When I stuck at the airport, lost my flight, I take them out and simply eat those rather than going to buy something, because at the airport everything is expensive. A lot of people, they don't think we use elevators all the time. One, it's not good for the health. I always take stairs. Secondly, every time you don't use elevator, you're saving Adams about 36 cents. Because that's a big elevator, it's a huge big motor which moves it up and then brings it down. And you think of it, the electric saving you can cause to atoms is humongous. And you can go on and on and on. It is all listed there. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men, a billionaire, he talks about, he gives this advice. He says, live your life as simply as you can. He has no shortage of money. Don't be seduced by brand label. Instead, wear things that are made well and are comfortable. Avoid wasteful spending. Manage your life and priorities so that you can live on less than you earn. Save 20% or preferably 30% or more on all that you make. Yeah. So then Yunus goes on to talk about his experience turning off lights, how dramatic it was for him. So on the savings, I skip it here. When I was a student in Texas, as a research assistant, I used to get $313 a month. And I used to spend $110 to $115 a month. So $200 were saved every month. And I sat down one day, I did some rough, and some of them are here, rough calculations. By 1975, I had $10,000. If they were invested at that time, it would be more than $1 million today. All right? So I'm going to give you some more examples when we come to. So next, chapter 3 is on investing. Investing is easy if you know how to do it, but it's difficult if you don't know how to invest. So investing for making money is tough. Losing money is not a problem. You can do anything and do that. And you know, sometime, and I discussed that here, we become not arrogant, but we feel, well, I'm a good engineer, I'm a good doctor, I'm a good accountant. So what's the big deal? I can also be a good investor. In my mind, that's a fallacy. You know, no one can be good in everything. You know, even among doctors or engineers or attorneys, we have good attorneys and we are not so good attorneys. And there are doctors, they charge you arm and a leg, and there are doctors who do it free, but maybe you don't want to go to them. So investing is a business, it's a science, it's an art, it's a field, and we just cannot take it so lightly. And at the bottom of this page, I give you the example which I just mentioned, that how the savings which I did at that time grew to the time when we built our first home in 1987. And then when Fatima went to school, how it grew to that number. But of course, the power is power of compounding. So the biggest lesson I can draw is save as much as you can, invest it as soon as you can, and start sooner than later. If you're thinking of investment, you should have done it yesterday rather than today, because every day you delay it, you're losing. And on page 39, I have given you a comparison of someone who started investing age 14 and invested $10,000. The other person happens to be Maryam, invested $16,000, but starting at age 19. Other one started at 14, this one has 19. The last person invested was $64,000, but started at age 27. 14, 19, and 27. You want to make a guess who has more money? It's the first person who put $10,000 and started at age 14. Will have $1.1 million. Other person has $1 million, and the person who invested $64,000, not 10, but started late, has only $800,000. So that's start early, and power of compounding is on your side. So then I basically tell you how you take your inventory and do that. Now, you know, we are human beings and we are very good in bragging about our successes. So if I buy a stock today and I sell it tomorrow and I made 10% profit on it, everybody in Adam is going to know that I did that. But if I buy a stock and I lose 10% on it, I'm never going to tell anybody because I'm shameful, and how can I tell you that I lost money? Then we watch television, and we have lots of good programs, CNBC and others, and we have Mr. Kramer there and others. They tell you buy this stock and buy that stock. So people go out tomorrow and they place an order, I want to buy that stock. So my suggestion to you is don't do that. Why? First, you need to understand and know the business in which you are investing. You cannot make good investments if you don't understand the business. And secondly, how are you going to know that Mr. Kramer tomorrow told, please sell that stock? And you may not have seen that program. And you may never know. You may be sitting on it, oh, Kramer is a successful investor, and he is. And he told to buy the stock, I bought it, but I'm losing money every day. You are sitting on the losing stock while he already told people to go and sell it. Same thing applies to magazines. All the newspaper magazines say buy this stock, buy that stock. You are at a loss because when they say sell, you are not going to read that most likely. And that is not a good way to. So, lesson is to educate yourself. There are lots of ways that you can educate yourself how to invest. On the investment side, lots of people, they like to invest in real estate. Yes, I do that too. But if you ask me today, my experience for the last 35 years, what would you say? Buying a home for yourself to live in, I'm all for it. That's investment in real estate. And usually, that's the largest investment you would ever make, because houses in this place are not cheap. So that is okay. But buying to make money and renting it out to other people, my suggestion would be don't do it. You are entering into a small business which you are not trained to undertake. Rental income is like 6-7%. Tenants don't pay, they mess up your place. You will get a phone call middle of the night, commode is stuck, please come and help. So you have to go there and help. May Allah help you. So really, when you look at investment, don't fall in love with real estate, okay? It's a real asset. You can see it, you can feel it. But when you're looking for investment, you need to see where I can get better return, easier, quicker, I have liquidity, and I don't have to run in the middle of the night to go and solve somebody's problem. So if you are in love with real estate, may God help you. Now, a lot of us, we want to buy. There are lots of people who will encourage you that you should buy homes. Lots of real estate people will tell you that you will pay less than what you're paying as rent and so on and so forth. So please, analyze it. Don't just take somebody's word for it. And I read a book written by Mr. Sethi. And his topic is how I can make you a millionaire. And he has a very good section on real estate, which really says it all, and I try to summarize it here. And that is, basically you should have 20% down payment, and preferably you get 15-year mortgage, Islamic mortgage, rather than 30 years, and pay it off as quickly as you can, and buy only if you're going to live in that place more than 5 years. Otherwise, real estate agent will make a lot of money, but not you. All right? So you have to really investigate and study, and so on and so forth. So then we come to where else we can invest. There are lots of investments, but one of my favorite one is investing in stocks, and more so in Muslim or Islamic mutual funds, or funds which invest based on Islamic principles. Alhamdulillah, we are fortunate. We have several funds now available on the market. One of the largest one in the world is Amana Mutual Fund, Dr. Iqbal and myself, we are both trustees of the fund. So please don't buy it because you heard it here. Read the prospectus, make sure that you can take the risk and buy it. We also have Azad Fund out of Tyson Corner. We have Nate's fund, Aman Fund out of Chicago. All of them have historical performances. Look at the performance of those funds, and then you can invest. I know funds which have done 11% on 15-year basis very consistently. So I say to myself, if that's the case, I have liquidity, I can buy, sell any day I want. Why would I go and get 5-6% with a lot of headache and so on and so forth? All right. With Amana, you can open an account with $250, and we have kept it low so all of us can afford it. We were students, we didn't have enough money at that time when we started, so we have kept it low for that purpose. And I can talk more about it, but please, since we have two trustees here, I don't want you to go out and start buying Amana. You really need to study it carefully before you do that. Now, when we look at Islamic investments, we have a lot of requirements, restrictions, which we have to follow. And I think we're getting close to Maghrib, so I will not go into a lot of details. This is on page 51. And generally speaking, we cannot invest in anything to do with alcohol, tobacco, pork, financial services, commercial banks like Cardinals and Duanians or whatever, weapons which are used to suppress people, immoral entertainment, casino, gambling, pornography, illegal drugs, and any harmful product which is hurtful to a human being. So the example of that is that when we made investment in Zimbabwe, in the farm that we bought had tobacco on it. And our board decided that we should just cut it off. We don't want to sell tobacco and make money out of it. My manager was saying, this is my most profitable product. I said, sorry, we cannot profit from it. The other example, we had investments in South Africa as a Amana mutual fund when it was apartheid. And we debated and we discussed and we decided to divest from South Africa, that we don't want to be part of the suppression of black people which was going on there. Now, of course, is a different story. So there are lots of issues and screens which we go through. We also look at the debt of the company. We look at the un-Islamic revenues from alcohol, from interest or whatever that may be. And Fiqh Council of North America has given us guidelines which we follow. And I have given you business reasons why Islamic requirements makes us better investors. And I've looked at a company like Enron, so many other companies that are listed here, which they went bankrupt. And we used to own, Amana Mutual Fund used to own stock in Enron. It used to be a utility company out of Texas, $1 billion revenues and everything else. But we sold that stock over 15 months before the collapse. And why we did that? When companies are in trouble, what they do, they go borrow more money. They get in more trouble, they borrow more money. And we monitor that trend because we cannot invest in companies or don't want to invest in companies which are heavy in debt. So as soon as it crossed 1/3 ratio, we decided to sell the stock. And that happened to be 15 months before the collapse of the company. And I can go on and on how Islamically it is helpful to make wise investments. And I think one of the reasons that Islamic funds are doing very well is because they are following Islamic guidelines. And our manager, though not a Muslim, he does say that because of Islamic requirements, our fund is doing better. Very quickly on Takaful, on insurance. Takaful is Islamic insurance. It's very much like a cooperative. All of us here, let's say we decide that we are going to put $1 a week together, give it to Imam Majid because we trust him, and he will put it aside, and one person in the community has a need, and he will determine what that need is, and that need is eligible for support. He will give part of the money to that member who is also contributing to that takaful. And then this fund basically grows. Fewer the accidents or fewer the needs, bigger will be the fund. So we can call Imam Majid basically a manager of the takaful or madarib, who is managing the money for the benefit of the community. So that's the concept of takaful. We have insurances here. Some of them are mutual insurances, some of them are not. And the Fiqh Council had a lot of discussions about the insurance, whether we should buy or we shouldn't buy. And Dr. Mukhtar Maghari wrote a very long paper in 2006, which was debated by the Fiqh Council, which basically said the insurance, the takaful is okay, the insurance is okay, as long as it is a mutual insurance for the benefit of each member and is Islamically invested. So our group is considering to create a Islamic insurance, which will basically be just like what I described, but instead of keeping the money in the safe, we would invest it in an Islamic mutual fund. So the money is invested in an Islamic way, and it is helping the community members who wants to participate. On the Islamic banking, our Federal Reserve and the OCC, the Office of Comptroller of Currency, which oversees federal banks, have given two opinions, legal opinions, in which they have permitted that Muslims can participate in Ajara and Marabha. And I'll define those Ajara. Ajara is basically leasing. Marabha is buying and selling. Buying today and selling it today or tomorrow at a higher price. So with those two opinions, any bank on the street can actually enter into an Ajara contract and Marabha contract. Now, bank may choose not to do. So we partner with University Bank. Fadi, are you here? Oh, there he is. Fadi works for University Islamic Finance, which is subsidiary of University Bank. So in 2005, December 2006, we partnered with this bank to create University Islamic Finance, which is a Islamic banking subsidiary of the bank. So bank can do whatever they want to do. This is by way of glory and success in a short way. So you have a bank, they can do whatever they want to do, I have nothing to do with it. You create a banking subsidiary, use all their licenses, all their approvals, all their accounting methods, everything, compliance, regulations, whatever, attorneys, and you create a Islamic banking subsidiary. And that banking subsidiary since December 2005 has been doing Islamic mortgages. And Fadi is representing us here in Virginia. Last year we did 132 million Islamic mortgages, and the subsidiary is successful. Now we are debating that this subsidiary could become an independent bank, publicly traded bank. And the owner is a family. They are very good Catholics, and we are debating that. So they took advantage of these approvals by the OCC and agreed that we want to do Marabha and Ajara, and that is what has been done with University Islamic Finance. Now, at the same time, we wanted to provide a vehicle for Muslims to invest. Investing in stocks is a bit risky. Market goes up and down, and you have to invest it for the long period. But there was no solution for a short term. So working with University Bank, we created profit sharing CDs, or profit sharing money market. So on one side, Fadi goes out and does Islamic financing using the money which is on deposit. So if we make 5% here, The bank takes their share of management, their overheads and whatever, minus the losses on any of the investments, and pays the rest to the depositors. And these CDs are FDIC insured, which is $250,000. Very quickly on spending of course is very easy. Anybody can spend money. I don't have to tell you how to spend. But what I do want to emphasize, and that is, we should spend moderately. We don't want to be on extremes, as Quran tells us. Go on one side, spend everything. On the other side, we are not spending anything. So we have to draw a balance. We need to be in the middle. There should be some tawazun. So, what in this chapter, beside emphasizing this, I have provided worksheets that if you want to buy a new car, and you can go out and lease. There are some zero interest leasing available. But if you don't want to do any of that, you basically decide you want to buy a Corolla or a Camry or Avalon, whatever the case may be, or a Volvo, and put that one here and say, when I want to buy it, let's say 5 years from now, and until that time you buy a used car until it runs down to the ground, and it will calculate for you how much money you need to save on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis or on a yearly basis, so that you can invest that money, have enough that you can go out and write a check and buy the new car as you want. So emphasis here is that you save, invest, be patient. Everybody else is driving new cars, doesn't matter. My first car was $150, which I bought. A second one was for $425. And we did all that until we had the means and we can save enough that we can afford something better. Same thing with college education. One of the calculations I was just looking at this morning, if there is a child born today and you start, so you want them to have enough money to go to college, George Mason, State University, not very expensive. How much money you need to save today that a student will go to college debt-free? It's $97 per month. So I'm sure all of us, we can save $97 a month for a child which is born today. And the calculations show that you will have $39,600 when the child is ready to go to university. And that's more than what the cost of 4-year college at George Mason will be in 17 years. You see? So there are lots of examples here which you can read. One of my favorite thing I always suggest is something called ESA, which is Educational Savings Account, which all of us, we can open. You can put away $2,000 a year in that account. It goes tax-free as long as it's used for education. If one kid doesn't want to go to college, you can substitute a kid. And so it's very flexible. So we have lots of Akika parties here in Imam Majid. So most of the time, we don't give any present. So what we do is we write a check in the name of a mutual fund and give it to the parents. Please go and open an account for this baby child. And I'm sure that child one day will make a dua for us. All right. So that is same thing for Hajj. I also give you an example. If somebody wants to get married, how much you have to save, because there's no bank which finance cost of a wedding. I don't know one. So if you want to go for Hajj, you plan for it. You want to purchase a house, the same thing. So it sort of continues. Giving, time is running short. There is a whole big section on giving. And giving is very dear to me. I argue we should give while we're living, while we're alive. Sure, we can put it in our will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala permits that 1/3 can go to Adam endowments, schools, faith, whatever that may be. But why do you want to do that? When we are encouraged that we should do something today with our own hands. We can see the results of it. I was really almost trembling when I read this hadith that 1 dirham given today is better than 100 dirham given at death. So why would we deny ourselves 100-fold benefit of that giving when we can do it now? Why should we leave it for someone else to decide what to do with it, whom to give, and whether they will give or not give? We have no control over it. So really there's a lot of emphasis on, and then I go on to talking about zakah, which is also one of my favorite topic. Here is the hadith which I was quoting. It is better for a man to give a dirham as sadaqah during his lifetime than to give 100 at time of his death. So then we find in Quran as well, and I've quoted the verse here, which talks about or tell us that we should not be accumulating wealth. And one of the reasons we have inheritance tables is to distribute wealth in a wide circle. And really Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this blessing. It's the first religion, looking at Jews and Christians, which has given women the right to inherit as wife, as daughter, or as mother if you don't have children. And it was beautiful for me, educational, to see how it is in other religions. And I continue that. I'm sorry I didn't leave much time for questions. If the organizers allow, after Maghrib, we can continue. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.